Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera. Today we're going to learn about female reproductive cycle. Female reproductive cycle consists of two cycles which are ovarian cycle and uterine cycle or menstrual cycle. So what is ovarian cycle? It's about a series of events in the ovaries during and after maturation of oocyte. So what happened in ovary? We know that we already learned before this about the stages of oogenesis, iaitu daripada primordial germ cell berkembang sehingga membentuk secondary oocyte. Jadi kesemua proses itu, iaitu daripada primordial germ cell membentuk primary oocyte, menjadi secondary oocyte, kemudian dikeluarkan daripada ovary. So semua proses itu berlaku dalam ovarian cycle. Jadi ovarian cycle menceritakan tentang maturation of oocyte. Maturation of oocyte di sini merujuk kepada perkembangan ataupun growth of the primordial germ cell until it becomes secondary oocyte, then released from the ovary. So in this ovarian cycle, there are two phases which are follicular phase and luteal phase. So this is the follicular phase, while this is luteal phase. So between these two phases has the ovulation. So let's recheck what happened during each phase. So in the follicular phase, usually happen during day 1 to day 13. There are around 3 to 30 follicles begin to grow, but only one follicle dominant that will continue, but only one dominant follicle will continue to grow while the others will integrate. Jadi follicular phase adalah keadaan di mana follicle grow daripada primary follicle, kemudian menjadi growing follicle dan akhirnya menjadi Graafian follicle. So Graafian follicle ini merujuk kepada matured follicle. So follicular phase adalah phase di mana follicle grow. Follicle grow from primary follicle become Graafian follicle. The Graafian follicle, also known as matured follicle. So at day 14 usually happen ovulation. The ovulation usually happen at day 14. So ketika ovulation ini, ada satu dominant follicle yang bulk from ovary surface and ruptured. Then dalam Graafian follicle ni adanya secondary oocyte. Jadi secondary oocyte tu akan release. The secondary oocyte is released from the ovary to the fallopian tube. After that, the luteal phase happens. So the luteal phase generally occur between day 15 to day 28. So at this luteal phase, the ruptured follicle become corpus luteum. Ruptured follicle yang warna merah ni become corpus luteum, or the remaining follicle transform into corpus luteum. So this corpus luteum secrete the progesterone and estrogen. So progesterone and estrogen itu pula diperlukan untuk preparation of the uterus if there is any pregnancy occur. So at last, this corpus luteum later will degenerate. Phase adalah tentang transformation of remaining follicle into the corpus luteum, and the corpus luteum will disintegrate. In the uterine cycle or menstrual cycle, this cycle refers to the changes that occur in uterus. Changes that occur in uterus specifically refer to the endometrium wall yang ada pada uterus. Apa yang berlaku terhadap endometrium wall yang ada dekat uterus itu? Okay, so selalunya average 28 days, it can vary from 20 to 40 days. Untuk uterine cycle ataupun menstrual cycle ada 3 phase, iaitu menstrual flow phase, proliferative phase dan also secretory phase. So ini keadaan untuk menggambarkan tentang endometrium wall di uterus. So ini adalah uterus, ini ovary, tempat di mana secondary oocyte dihasilkan, dilepaskan ke fallopian tube dan akan bergerak pergi ke uterus. So inilah endometrium wall. Okay, lining of the uterus is the endometrium wall. So from this diagram we can look that there is a phase where endometrium wall is very thick. There is a phase di mana endometrium wall itu meluruh ataupun shade off. Ada juga keadaan di mana endometrium wall itu masih lagi dalam keadaan nipis ataupun thin layer of the endometrium wall. So, menstrual flow phase in this uterine cycle begin at day 1 and last about 3 to 7 days later. So, ketika menstrual flow phase ni apa yang berlaku adalah endometrium wall ini akan shade off. Endometrium wall ni ada fluid, nutrient yang terlibat untuk nourish embryo. Tapi ketika menstrual flow phase, endometrium wall ini lost its function, so dia akan shade off. So, bleeding occurs. Jadi, menstrual flow phase ni adalah ketika mana seorang perempuan itu mengalami period. Proliferative phase pula selalunya berlaku antara 1 ke 2 minggu. Okay. Proliferative phase, ketika ini apa yang berlaku adalah regeneration and thickening of endometrium wall. Boleh perhatikan di sini yang endometrium wall itu dibina semula, regenerate dan mula menebal. So, regeneration and thickening of the endometrium wall. So, during secretory phase, about 2 weeks, the endometrium wall continues thicken. Endometrium wall terus menerus untuk menebal. Selain daripada itu, the endometrium wall continues thicken. Endometrium wall terus menerus untuk menebal. The endometrium wall also becomes more vascularized and develop glands. And develop gland that secrete fluid which rich in glycogen to nourish the embryo. So if there is no implantation of embryo at the uterine lining or endometrium wall at the end of secretory phase, a new menstrual flow phase begin. Jika tidak ada implantation by embryo, a new menstrual flow phase begin that mark as day 1 for the next cycle. So that's about secretory phase. So as a conclusion, in ovarian cycle, there are 2 phases, follicular phase and luteal phase. In between there is an ovulation, while in menstrual cycle there are 3 phases, menstrual flow phase, proliferative phase and secretory phase. Okay, thank you.